Alright, this is my take 3. This is my level for game scripting, which is design 218. This is my first trigger here. I'll go ahead and demonstrate. So this trigger I'll get into the blueprint here. This trigger first checks for completed, and if it's not completed, if it's the first time playing it, will unhide the text render actor, which is just what that is. It's a text render actor with dashes and a greater than sign forming an arrow, and plays the dinging sound and sets it to completed so that none of it is repeated if walked in and out on. So this is the first door, second trigger in the level. Go ahead and demonstrate. Opens with a sound. That sound is not synced up always. It's hit or miss, which is what confuses me. So it begins on actor begin overlap, plays the matinee, plays the sound, very simple. This sound always syncs up because there is no delay. And on actor end overlap, it waits a second. Because the trigger is only in front of the door, I wanted it to not be openable from the other side, and since this was one of the first things created in the level, we hadn't really gone over how to lock things yet. So just this very simple, you can't touch the trigger from the other side of the door was my solution for that. And this was the first blueprint that made it into the level, so it was a very easy solution. And so once it ends overlap, it waits a small delay so that the door isn't, because players could walk right through as the door is still opening, and then the door would reverse. So that stops, that delay stops that from happening. And this delay is supposed to sync up the door sound because this duration is exactly how long the reverse matinee action is. And so sometimes it will sync up, but other times it won't, and I'm not at all sure why. This is the third trigger, which it's essentially a cutscene. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it now.
Hello. Welcome to Stanford Industries. You must be here for the interview? Please take this keycard and head through the door over there. Take the escalator up.
So the first criteria that accomplishes is, well, I guess I should go over something else first. This was my biggest and possibly my most complex blueprint for this level. So first, it looks for started, which is just defined here as false, and if false, set to true so that it will never play twice when gone in and out. And I had to do it this way instead of, like I did it with the arrow, it was just completed. However, since this takes so long, it is a rather long cutscene, it needs to look for started instead, and set started as soon as it starts, obviously. So it comes down and plays this matinee actor, which, as you notice in the editor, the cardboard secretary is just lying on the ground, so you can't see her from when you come in. When you enter here, she jumps up, and that qualifies the not a door matinee actor. So after that matinee plays, it comes here and it sets off this trigger. First, it sets this text render component, which is right above her head. It's actually not hidden, it is just blank, so I don't have to unhide it and then set it. It's just set. So it sets it to the text value here, which is just, hello, welcome to Stanford Industries. And it plays the sound virtually alongside it. However, this sound file it contains more dialogue than I could put in one text render component and still have it look natural and concise. So it waits for the dialogue to go on, and I have it choreographed to play when there is a small gap in the dialogue, and it sets that new text render. Go ahead and show you that.
Hello. Welcome to Stanford Industries. You must be here for the interview?
That was all the first clip, but as you can see, it does the text change twice within the first sound clip. And then it repeats that process, the whole thing, with a slightly bigger delay for the second dialogue files, both of which I just went into a text-to-speech engine and made. Very simple. And I did program a second stage that I ended up not using because I didn't like how it synced up, but I'll go ahead and demonstrate it. So upon that, the first stage ending, it's set completed to true, and it would come in on actor end overlap when you left the trigger, and the intention was for the secretary to say something as you were going through the door on the other side, but by the time you got back into the room, she would not repeat it, leaving the player questioning what she had said. But it would never sync up with the door quite well, so I ended up scrapping it. But I wanted to go over it anyways because it uses two branches to check two conditions: that the first stage has completed and that this stage has not completed. So, and it just does the same thing and comes in and waits for a short delay so that the player has time to make it from the trigger to the door. And this was before the keycard was even involved, so that would need to be longer too. And just plays the sound and changes the text. So next we'll get into the keycard, which fulfills the locked criteria. And we went over this one in class. There's nothing really added to it. It just takes inputs when the actor is overlapped on the box trigger and stops taking inputs when it's not, and just sets the BP locked door to unlocks it when you press E on the keycard and destroys the keycard, giving the illusion that you picked it up. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this first. I've coded this door in such a way that if you press E on it without having the keycard, it gives you this little error bubble, or sorry, error noise and light. But when you do have the keycard, plays another sound, opens up with a green light. And see, that one is more closely synced up. And just like the first one, it just goes off of a delay system, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So this one is definitely my most complex one. I had the door, since I wanted to do this locked and unlocked with the key card, with the lights and such, I made it press E because I wanted this locked light to be repeated without the player moving back and forth into the door, ramming their head against it repeatedly. So I went with the press E, really the same system, just enable input when you're on the trigger and disable input when you're not. So it comes in here, checks the locked condition that is set by the keycard, and if you have not picked up the keycard, then it is still locked. So it will play the keycard bad sound file and toggle the visibility on the red light, wait half a second, and toggle it again. Now, I had to completely make these lights not visible, because if they were just actor hidden in game, they still cast light, as you can see there. So I had to make them completely not visible and then toggle that through Blueprint, which took a while to figure out how to do, surprisingly. So if it is false, if you did pick up the keycard, it's essentially the same system, only it plays the good sound and toggles the visibility on the green light instead, and then plays the matinee and sets door has opened, meaning that this over here on actor end overlap, it disables input, but it also starts this branch of has opened, and if it hasn't already opened, then it can't close and play the closed door sound, essentially. So, but if it has already opened, then it will wait a few seconds, reverse the matinee so that the door closes, wait the duration of the matinee, and play the door close sound. And like I said, that works sometimes and doesn't work others. And so that's the locked door. Make sure I didn't forget anything. Nope. So, other things to note, the music and the ambience outside, I actually didn't have to do with Blueprint, which is fortunate because I spent about half an hour looking into how I could do it with Blueprint. But as it turns out, Unreal 4 just has easy, breezy sound actors that you just put a sound in there, change some attenuation settings. It was all very easy, really. And so this one doesn't have any attenuation because the background noise doesn't need to attenuate because it's just birds chirping and wind blowing in the background. That doesn't need to be louder or quieter depending on where you go. But come in here to the office music and it does attenuate. It starts, if I can... Essentially, it starts as soon as you pass through the threshold of there. But as you get closer to the counter, it slowly gets louder and remains a constant volume while you are here at the counter. And yeah, I believe that's all I have to go over. So this is a very, very good project. Definitely learned a lot with it. And I'm very glad that I went out of my way to go do a lot of things that weren't required, because I'm very happy with just how the level turned out in general. So that's all I've got.